I think the one thing that makes jazz improvisation possible is the agreement. So you have a lot of room to do different things, but you have to agree on the rhythm. If I'm playing in a rhythm and you're playing a totally different rhythm, we're not going to agree. And not only are we not going to agree, we're not going to sound good. And if we don't have the same understanding of what we're trying to do on the bandstand, we're going to have a hard time. When I was in high school, I learned how to circular breathe, which meant I could play a note for 2 minutes. And whenever I did that, I always got applause. I was playing with my father outside in the park. It wasn't like people really listening to us. But I started playing a solo and I just, I just played a phrase for like 2.5, 3 minutes. And people just erupted in the applause. Oh. So I finished playing, I looked around, man, I got more applause than anybody. My father, he called me over to the piano. Yeah, you know, you heard that solo I played, that was my feeling. He said, hey man, the circus is down the street. So there are things we have to agree on. The form, not even the harmony. Like some people can't play on harmonies or don't want to play on harmonies. But the swing, the concept of the rhythm, we have to have an agreement on that. And we have a common body of music that as that has eroded, it becomes more and more difficult for musicians across generations to play. There's a young musician named Emmett Cohen who is on YouTube. And the thing I love about Emmett is he plays with all the musicians across the spectrum of jazz. People play New Orleans music, swing music, different types of modern music. And what his rhythm section does, they show what the common language is. And we have to always keep our eyes on that common language, because once we begin to think that that language is not important, it took people a long time to work that language out. So those are the things I think jazz can teach our country. If we cannot agree that the Constitution is a document that is designed to create agency for others, and that it is a leveling document, we can't have a democracy. Like, let's be for real for a second. Most people agree in this country that the civil rights movement needed to be rolled back. Nixon was elected after Kennedy and King were killed. Ronald Reagan was elected to roll it back. He didn't make bones about it. There's a reality to these things. And a lot of people agree with this direction. And to think that they don't is to make a mistake. The numbers tell you that. And they're real, and you know that they're real. We only have 2 choices, so whether you like the choice you have, you prioritize. And the priority, what you prioritize says what you're about. When resources get thin, you're going to put resources to the thing that is most important to you. So it's never irreparable. As long as human beings can breathe, the more we know about history, a lot of these are new ideas. Equality of people, public education, nobody's thinking about that. We have to determine whether we want to be an empire or a republic. Because it was interesting to me in California in this last election, they voted in favor of prisoners being put in the position of slaves. I could reach in and find the exact language of it, but you can look it up and find it. That once you're incarcerated, there was no problem. The population of that liberal state found with them being basically slaves. They're forced to work. So most of the empires are based on murder or the threat of murder, concubinage, we're going to take care of this, and labor. Most lynchings that took place were about labor. We tend to think it's a sexual thing because that's what's on TV. A white lady said something and some black people got lynched. Go fight to make more money on your job. Now we have, it's been a long time since we had a people's movement that was led with any level of intelligence. And people don't know where they are. And it's not a white-black issue. I always use it in relation to what is in the public space. so much pornography for kids, so much drugs, so much degrading of language on news shows and sports shows. I was listening to a show the other day and they started talking about being in a strip club, a national show, like it was a normal entertainment. Like I'm going to see the Philharmonic. Man, we were in the strip club and it was, okay. You know, I'm from New Orleans, so it's not shocking. I grew up playing in clubs. But it's just, decadence is, you know, it works a certain way. So I'm always optimistic because I understand what our history has been. And we're still fighting the Civil War. And now the South is ahead. And you know, it's a thing about people that no matter what befalls them as a group, there is an innocence that comes with a group of ignorance. I stayed up one night, I just went down the rabbit hole of looking at the Nuremberg trials. And then I went to all the people who were executed and what they said before they were executed, maybe 15 people. Out of the 15, only 2 or 3 said, may the Lord please bless my soul for what I've done. Most said, I only did what I did for the fatherland. And 3 or 4 said, Heil Hitler. In America, there's still a belief that Robert E. Lee was right. This is our way of life. The South shall rise again. In the ashes of Atlanta, we're coming back. And there's been an attempt to reduce the democracy. Don't be fooled that this is about DEI or whatever the terms are that indicate some ethnic breakdown. Normally, the Negro is somewhere in there. This is about dismantling democracy with chaos and creating a working class that is disenfranchised, hopefully all over the world, so that people can play around in southern cities, municipalities that don't have mayors, and that the whole interest of the world can be turned over to corporations who have done nothing to show you that they're trustworthy. Don't get into the trap of, well, I'm black or I'm a woman. That's not what I see. And I remain optimistic because that's always been the challenge. And it will remain a challenge until we as people have a higher consciousness, and maybe it's going to take an unbelievable conflagration to push us up to a higher level. All of the stuff that you see going on now, we've been going in that direction. So this administration is just more active. But is it more active than Ronald Reagan was? He destroyed the economic system for farmers. They love him. You need farm aid because of its sellout to big agriculture. We've seen recent presidents sell out to pharmaceutical companies while they're forwarding a health plan. Here's my health plan, but you got to pay these people. You know, but these are long-term, these fights, they're much longer than many lives. And they're human things. These are battles that have gone on, you know, for time immemorial. The question for us is, are we invested in ourselves? I always have to tell my students at Juilliard, they say, what is one thing you can tell me? I always say, take yourself seriously. Take what you think seriously, take what you feel seriously, take your power seriously, take your words seriously. These are always serious times. And not because of any new president, because it's just the world there's a lot of us out here. And if you want to fight for a universal humanism and for the rights of other people and to have a more equitable way of life for everybody, if you want to fight for these things, it's a long, uphill, painful, thankless battle. And you have to be down for doing that. And it's going to cost you. It will not be free. Some people, it cost them their lives.